North of the English Channel and south of the Pennines, an enormous number of steam railways are still running. We start this programme in Sussex with the Bluebell, the first preserved standard gauge railway in the country.
In 1882, the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway opened a cross-country line between Lewes and East Grinstead. This served the estates and scattered villages of mid-Sussex until 1955, when it was suddenly closed. After a protracted legal battle, a Railway Preservation Society was established, and in August 1960, the Bluebell Railway ran its first train between Sheffield Park and Horsted Keynes. From the very beginning, the intention was to create a living museum, preserving all the atmosphere of a rural steam railway.
The original stock of 2 small engines and 2 coaches has since grown into a large collection, and today an impressive roster of locomotives are housed in and around the running sheds at Sheffield Park. The collection concentrates on classes typical to the south of England, encouraging the Maunsell and Woolley societies to house their locomotives here too. British Rail standard classes built during the 1950s are also preserved, while in the yards and sidings many more locomotives wait patiently for restoration. Sharpthorne is unique, as she was actually used to build the line over 100 years ago. But a special place is always reserved for Stepney and for Bluebell, the railway's first acquisitions back in 1960. Normandy is a Class B4 040 tank and past master at the complex art of shunting. Built for the London and South Western Railway in 1893, this Adams engine spent more than 50 years shunting in the docks at Southampton. An impressive stock list can have its drawbacks. The yards at Sheffield Park are packed with locomotives and coaches, and in these conditions, any movement of stock calls for considerable flexibility. Meanwhile, 260, number 1618, is fired up in preparation for the day's passenger duties. Number 1618 is a U-class locomotive, designed by Maunsell and built in Brighton in 1928. Nicknamed U-boats, these moguls became standard mixed-traffic locomotives throughout the entire Southern Railway system. Although only the second engine to be rescued from the renowned scrapyard in Barry, number 1618 had to wait until 1977 before a move to the Bluebell enabled regular running to be resumed. Fired, fueled and watered, number 1618 is now almost ready to depart. But first, there's a train to make up. For most people, standard class travel is more than adequate. But for the lucky few, there's a place at the table in a Pullman dining car, Fingal. Pulling out of Sheffield Park, 1618 is straight onto Freshfield Bank and the long climb up to Horsted Keynes. Arrival at Horsted Keynes, and here tokens are exchanged before the passengers can disembark for a look around the station.
For a rural station, Horsted Keynes is unusually large. Now presented as a station of the Southern Railway of the 1930s, this is a superb example of period restoration, with an attention to detail which has brought the age of steam firmly back to life. Our brief stop over, we rejoin number 1618 as she continues her journey up the line.
More than 7 miles from Sheffield Park, the line temporarily ends here at New Combe Bridge, pending the continuation of the extension to East Grinstead. The guard waves the train off for the return down the line to Sheffield Park. A little further east, we find the 7-mile Kent and East Sussex Railway. This standard gauge line has its depot here at Rolverton, where we join number 24, William H. Austin, as it undergoes final preparations for the day's work. The locomotive departs light engine, climbing the 2-mile-long incline to Tenterden in order to pick up the morning passenger train. It's a steep climb with an average gradient of 1 in 50, increasing to 1 in 36 in places. Number 24 was built in 1952, a class known as the Austerity Saddle Tank. These locomotives proved so successful that production continued long after the war, the final one being assembled in 1964, by which time 464 had been built. 5 examples are preserved by the railway, 4 of which are in working order. Number 24, arriving at Tenterden town, passes the signal box which stands opposite the station building. This once controlled trains on the Ashford to Canterbury line at Chilham before being moved and rebuilt on its present site. Originally known as the Rother Valley Railway, the line was built under the direction of Lieutenant Colonel Holman F. Stevens and opened on the 6th of March 1900. Tenterden is the headquarters of the railway and boasts many modern facilities, most of which are built on the site of the former goods yard.
What's time on the next train? 4 o'clock. Thank you. Cheers.
The railway is single line all the way to Northiam, with passing loops at each station. Before the train can depart from Tenterden, the driver receives a token, giving him authority to enter the single line section between Tenterden and Rolverton. Number 24 works up a steep bank as the train heads out across gently rolling countryside and onto the other levels.
The station at Northiam was officially reopened by the Duke of Gloucester in 1990, but is perhaps best known from its appearance in the television series Challenge Annika. Given no more than a few days' notice, the TV presenter Annika Rice raised enough help to lay 600 yards of track and managed to restore the station to all its former glory as well.
The railway has plans to extend the current line beyond Northiam to the next station at Bodiam, 3.5 miles away. But today, having run round its train, number 24 prepares to depart once again for Tenterden, giving us the opportunity to sit back and admire one of these simple austerity locomotives in action. The Sittingbourne and Kemsley Light Railway was once part of a sophisticated 2-foot 6-inch gauge industrial network which operated 24 hours a day, supplying raw materials and clearing finished products from the Sittingbourne paper mill. Triumph, an 062 saddle tank, was built by Bagnall in 1934 and used to haul trainloads of wood pulp and finished paper. Nowadays, the locomotive hauls passenger coaches along the 2 miles of track which has been preserved. The line is set in typical industrial surroundings, and upon arrival at Sittingbourne, Triumph makes up the first train of the day to take passengers to Kemsley Down. The system is now operated by volunteers who undertake every aspect of railway preservation, from locomotive restoration to permanent way maintenance, providing a unique glimpse into the past of an industrial railway. Running between Hythe and Dungeness is the Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch Railway, the world's only miniature main line. An impressive stock list of 11 steam and 2 diesel locomotives, all running on this 15-inch gauge track, begin their working day here at the main depot in Romney. These elegant miniature locomotives, built in 1925 to a design by the model engineer Henry Greenley, were constructed to 1/3 standard gauge size and are based on the Flying Scotsman type locomotives, then in service with the London and North Eastern Railway. Weighing 8 tons in working order, these powerful locomotives are capable of hauling 17 coaches, seating up to 350 passengers. The morning's preparations continue as passengers begin to arrive. Each locomotive burns on average 5 to 6 hundredweight of coal per day.
Two returns to Hythe, please. One adult, one child.
Good morning. Please. That's platform 31034. Thank you very much.
The first locomotive to depart from New Romney, bound for Hythe, is number 3, Southern Made. Number 3 is a 462 Pacific type locomotive built in 1926 by Davy Paxman. Today she is resplendent in the southeastern and Chatham green livery. Across the flat, straight sections of the line that characterize the run from New Romney to Hythe, the locomotives can run safely at speeds up to 25 miles an hour. Number 10, Dr. Sinn, arriving at Hythe Station, was built by the Yorkshire Engine Company in 1931, a miniature of a North American Pacific locomotive. Hythe Station is the only terminus on the line, and Dr. Sinn goes onto the railway's second turntable to be turned for its journey back. Unlike the turntable at New Romney, this is still a manual operation. Cylinder cocks open. Dr. Sinn leaves Hythe for Dungeness. To New Romney, the lines double track all the way, allowing north and southbound trains to pass anywhere. It's a useful feature on such a busy line. Dr. Sin, working from Hythe, approaches New Romney Station. Before a train can depart New Romney to continue its journey to Dungeness, the driver must first collect the tablet from the post by the footbridge. This is his authority to proceed into the single-line section to Romney Sands.
Leaving New Romney, the line tunnels beneath Littlestone Road. Headroom is very restricted here, and visiting locomotives have sometimes been unable to proceed any further. Once through the tunnel, the line becomes single track, until at Dungeness the line swings in a large open loop across the banks of pebbles. A sharp contrast to the rolling grasslands north of New Romney. This loop turns the trains through 180 degrees, providing the line with a unique feature. The station at Dungeness stands in the shadow of the old lighthouse, now preserved as a museum. Highfield was once a station on the main line from Tunbridge Wells to Lewes. When this section of the line was closed, the station quickly fell into disrepair until it was bought by businessman David Millam, who intended to use the site for storage.
David Millam was soon inspired to restore the station buildings. And then came the platform. And finally, the signal box. A locomotive, an Andrew Barclay 040 saddle tank, was obtained ostensibly for decorative purposes. And eventually, an entire 1.5 mile long section of the railway was resurrected. The Lavender Line was in business. One feature of the line which has proved incredibly popular are the steam-hauled wine and dine services. Owner David Millam describes the venture.
We wanted to create like a mini Orient Express, and that's the idea of the red drapes and the red velvet seats, and because I thought it would be nice for people to come out for a meal and to be treated like they used to be treated in the 20s and 30s, where there was an abundance of waiters, and for a few hours of an evening you were treated like a king, and that was the whole image. I thought that went with the steam train and the luxury coaches, and we thought it would take off, but we didn't realise it was going to take off like it has. I mean, it's become very, very popular indeed.
The industrial town of Kidderminster is the starting point of a 16-mile trip up the Severn Valley. Sharing a forecourt with British Rail is the southern terminus of the Severn Valley Railway and the starting point of our journey to Bridgnorth.
And you can go up and down as often as you like. Thank you. And get up.
The station stands on the former site of British Rail's Cumberton Hill goods yard. During the summer season, the railway regularly operates 3 steam engines on the line.
Coaching stock is stored at Bewdley, and today this rake arrives with number 3442, the Great Marquis, a K4 class 260 locomotive from the London and North Eastern Railway. The Great Marquis runs round a train ready for departure. Outshot from Darlington Works in 1938, number 3442 spent over 20 years working the West Highland Line between Glasgow and Mallaig before being withdrawn from service in December 1961. Two years later, the locomotive was bought by Lord Lindsay, the president of the Severn Valley Railway. She was then sent to Cowlairs Works in Glasgow for repair and restoration to the original NNR livery. Leaving Bewdley Tunnel, the line falls gently towards the River Severn. The first station on the line is Bewdley. Here, the Great Marquis is uncoupled to return to Kidderminster to work the second train of the day. The locomotive which will work the train to Bridgnorth is number 46443. This class 2MT 260 tender locomotive was the second steam locomotive to be preserved by the Severn Valley Railway, arriving in 1967. The Great Marquis again, this time crossing the River Severn. When it was built in 1861, Victoria Bridge was the largest cast iron single-span bridge in the world. The yellow brick station at Arley is typical of the Severn Valley Railway and dates from the opening of the line in 1862. We leave Arley on number 2857, a 280 locomotive built in 1918. For 60 years, this class of engine was responsible for most of the long-distance heavy freight hauled on the Great Western Railway. Running even closer to the river, the line now meanders on its way to Highley. In the station, the signalman prepares to exchange tokens with the incoming locomotive. The departure of number 46443 gives us an opportunity to ride in the cab and watch the driver and fireman.
Eleven and a half miles from Kidderminster, the trains coast into Hampton Load Station. Hampton Load is one of the line's crossing places. A number 2857, on a return working, rolls into the station on its way to Kidderminster. Now climbing steadily on a gradient of 1 in 100, our train approaches Erdington Summit. The summit passed, the train descends towards Bridgnorth, crossing the 5-arch Oldbury viaduct that towers above Daniel's Mill. Finally, we reach Bridgnorth Station, 16 miles from Kidderminster and the end of the line for the Severn Valley Railway.
The Severn Valley Railway's engineering headquarters are sited here. In the sheds, the railway's locomotives are maintained and heavy repairs are carried out. We leave the Severn Valley with a final glimpse of the Great Marquis as she pulls out of Bridgnorth on a return run. The Foxfield is an ex-industrial railway on the eastern edge of the Potteries.
The Foxfield Railway was built in 1893 to connect the Foxfield Colliery, which is about 3 miles north of here, to the Stoke Derby main line, which is about half a mile to the south. The Foxfield Bank, which climbs out of the Foxfield Colliery at 1 in 20 gradient for most of the way, with we believe a little bit of 1 in 19 in the middle, is the steepest adhesion worked incline in the country. We don't run passenger trains down there at the moment because of problems with access, which we are working on, and we hope to have the access prepared and the track repaired down to the colliery within probably the next 5 years. It's one of our longer term plans. The colliery closed in 1964 and the society was formed in 1967 to take over the running of the railway and to preserve it as part of Britain's industrial heritage.
With the signal pulled off, Whiston departs for Dilhorn Bank. This 060 saddle tank was built by Hunslet's in 1950, a typical colliery locomotive. On arrival at Dilhorn Park, Whiston runs round the train before returning to Blythe Bridge. Running only from Loughborough to Leicester, the Great Central Railway was once an impressive network extending from London to Sheffield and Manchester in the north of England. Today, what's left of the line is owned by the Main Line Steam Trust, the supporting group of the current Great Central Railway. Merchant Navy class Canadian Pacific, built by the Southern Railway in 1941, is being prepared for its day's duties. Also in service is Great Western 060 pannier tank number 7760. Number 7760 was built in 1930 and is on loan from the Birmingham Railway Museum. Coupled, they prepare to work the first passenger train of the day to Rothley.
Children have always been attracted to steam engines, and like most railways, the Great Central encourages this with an occasional Friends of Thomas weekend. Hidden behind the mast is Collapure, number 5593, an LMS Jubilee class 10-wheeler built in 1934. A little later, we catch up with Collapure and its train as they head for Quorn, the next station on the line. After a brief pause, the driver gets the right of way, and Collapure departs for Rothley.
At Rothley itself, number 7760, working the push-pull set, arrives from the site of the new platform at Leicester North. At the time of filming, the line was still in the process of being extended through to Leicester, and volunteers can be seen preparing point rodding. Here the new extension is seen from the driver's compartment on the push-pull set as it reaches the end of the line. The extension was completed in 1991, but since then the line between Rothley and Loughborough has been double-tracked. This has given the Great Central the only standard gauge main line in railway preservation, and the ability to run mainline locomotives at the speeds they were originally designed for. Devon's Paignton and Dartmouth Steam Railway is affectionately known as the Holiday Line. The 7-mile line was never closed, escaping Beeching's axe by a unique takeover carried out by the Railway Society in 1972. At the Paignton Depot, number 7827, Lytham Manor, prepares for the day's duties. While steam pressure rises to operating levels, the crew must clean and lubricate and ensure a good supply of coal and water are stored in the tender. Number 7827 is a Great Western Manor Class 460 built in 1950 by British Railways, 2 years after the Great Western had ceased to exist. The railway never made it to Dartmouth, stopping short just across the river in Kingswear. Lytham Manor, having ferried empty coach stock from Paignton, now rounds around to head the train for its trip to Paignton. The first leg of the journey sweeps along the estuary of the River Dart before turning inland towards Churston. At Britannia Halt, a ferry crossing has a manned signal box which controls all movements between here and Kingswear.
Turning inland, the train begins the long climb towards Churston. Crossing Maypole Viaduct, the train soon encounters the Greenway Tunnel. During World War II, this 495-yard tunnel provided safe stabling for General Eisenhower's special train. Churston was once the junction for the branch line that served the busy fishing port of Brixham. Today, it acts as a passing place when two trains are operating. From Churston, the trains pass through some of the most spectacular scenery on any railway in England. Crossing high viaducts and clinging to cliff tops, the line meanders gracefully down towards Goodrington Sands. Here at Goodrington Sands, old meets new, as Lytham Manor pulls in behind the largest water slides in Britain.
The final leg of the journey is a short run from Goodrington to Paignton Station, the railway's headquarters. Locomotive and rolling stock maintenance is carried out in the well-appointed workshops next to the station. Once coupled up and ready to depart, Lytham Manor sets off once more for Kingswear. Further up the River Dart, the South Devon Railway has been operating under a number of different guises since 1969. Overshadowed for 20 years by its neighbour at Paignton, the railway has recently regained its sense of direction and is moving forward with renewed enthusiasm. Great Western Pannier Tank number 7752 departs from Buckfastleigh for a trip down the line. Introduced in 1929, this class of 060s became the Great Western's standard shunting and general purpose tank engine. Staverton is a gem of a station where the rural calm is only shattered by 7752 as she pulls in with the super saloon King George. Continuing south, the line follows the River Dart before ending at Littlehampston Riverside. Here, a new suspension bridge connects the railway with Totnes Town and its British Rail station. Today, the South Devon Railway has been firmly established as one of the classic preserved railways of southern England, and we can look forward to many more decades of steam to come.